When I was 7 years old, my father took my older brother and I to a cabin in the middle of literally nowhere for a vacation for about a week. We also took our pet cat with us. Everybody had their own room, and I had the room furthest from the other two, positioned right by where the woods started. There was a window right next to my bed on the right side, and there was a tree right next to that I remember getting to climb the previous day without much success. The bedrooms were on the second floor, by the way, and the window didn't have any curtains or blinds whatsoever to cover it. One night I remember being really homesick and being completely unable to sleep. The cat was laying on the bed beside me, and I was reading a comic book with a flashlight when around 2 a.m., I began to hear a small tapping on my window. I assumed at first that it was just a tree branch tapping away, because it was a fairly windy night. But soon I began to hear whispers. I remember just freezing in fear and feeling like a bunch of ice water had just been poured all over me. I could hear whoever it was tapping softly and saying things like, "Open up, son. It's Daddy. Let me in, Luke. It's cold out here." And the worst one that I heard, "Come on, it's Dad, I just want to cuddle." I was too paralyzed in fear to do anything but just lay on my side, facing as far away as I could from the window, terrified and close to tears. I knew that it wasn't my father. In my imagination, I thought it was the boogeyman or some other creature that would gladly kill me. All the while, my cat was hissing and clawing at the man. I remember holding him tight and burying my face in his fur because he felt like a safety net, my one and only defense against this man. Somehow I couldn't work up the nerve to call for my father. Then I remember a horrible screeching noise. I turned around to see what it was. I could see the man, with the most maniacal grin that I've ever seen, like something straight out of a horror movie, dragging a pocket knife against the glass, making this horrendous noise. At that point, I finally screamed bloody murder. The grin disappeared. The man looked like a combination of horrified and absolutely full of rage. At that point, though, my father came barreling into my room with his hunting rifle. As you can imagine, seeing this made the man panic, and he just sort of dropped backwards and fell out of the tree. My father just looked at me to make sure I was alright, just as my brother ran in. My father ran off to go and catch the guy before he managed to get away, but unfortunately it wasn't a very long drop, and the man probably only got bruises from it. He was long gone by the time my father finally got down there, and we waited the whole night with nobody sleeping before we packed up and went home. And to this day, I don't think they ever caught the guy, though I do remember my father filed a police report, and I had to talk to the police and give a description. I'm still grateful for my cat, who turns 14 this week, and is still as feisty as ever, for providing me comfort during that time. To first start off, I live in a little city in SoCal with my roommate, who also happens to be my cousin. During this coronavirus pandemic, however, I've been staying with my parents who live in a very small town in NorCal. Because of my time in SoCal, I really don't like staying up north, and I would honestly rather live back to my apartment. The reason why I haven't done it, though, is because my parents think I might get very lonely there, since everything is closed down, and my roommate also wasn't there since he was with his parents as well. However, since I had to go back for a specific reason, my parents wanted me to take their dog, Mocha, so I wouldn't feel as lonely staying there alone. I loved her a lot, so I didn't mind one bit. Mocha is a small Pomchi dog that loves to play around with me. She's usually by my side for most of the time. She also loves to go on runs with me too, so I occasionally do take her with me on jogs. On a Wednesday night, I decided to go running with her. Whenever I go on my runs, I like to go at night, because that's the time I'm most energetic, and all the times I went running at night, I've never had any types of bad encounters or occurrences. I put Mocha on a leash, and off we went. About 20 minutes into our run, I was running through this creek area that there was a park right next to, and a bunch of trees surrounding it. There were houses on the other side, and the trail was pretty narrow. The streetlights were extremely dim, but it was still bright enough to just see up ahead. As I'm running along with my music playing, my leash was suddenly tugged by Mocha. This usually happens when she wants to go to the bathroom, so I stopped and turned to let her do her thing. But when I turned around, she was in her alert stance, looking straight behind where we had run past. I just assumed she heard a squirrel or any other small animal, as she usually does this whenever she sees one. I was tugging her leash, telling her, "Let's go, there's nothing else here." She didn't oblige at first. She just kept looking off behind us. It took me about 4 or 5 tugs before she finally came with me. I resumed playing my music, and off we went, both running. I was almost out of the creek, and I would then meet a narrow sidewalk that was straight ahead. The trail only had to take a short turn. Probably a minute or two later, Mocha tugged the leash again and went on her alert stance right behind us. She started to aggressively bark and growl. I stopped and started looking all around behind us. I was kind of freaked out because the trail had a couple of turns and curves. This meant that something was most likely following us. My first guess was a lost dog, which was unsettling because Mocha is tiny. If it was a big dog, it could easily overpower her. As I was looking around the dim area, though, for a split second, I saw a black humanoid figure about 15 yards away from me, right behind a bush and standing next to a tree. I immediately turned my eyes to the opposite direction, pretending that I didn't just see that, but boy was my heart pounding. I didn't see any figures or his face. I just saw the outline of the man's upper body. I didn't have any weapons on me for self-defense. If this guy was following me, my best solution was to run off without him trying to catch me. I tried my best to act cool and just told Mocha, "Let's go." The trail was going to end shortly. I just had to make a turn and it would be straight sidewalk for about 300 to 400 yards. There were fences on both sides of the sidewalk, so the only solution was to keep running straight ahead. I went into a jog right as soon as I turned the corner and made sure I was out of view from the person. As soon as I rounded the bend, I went on a full sprint. The sidewalk was ahead of me, so I made sure to just keep on running as fast as I could. I kept looking behind me to see if I was really being followed. About 70 yards away, I saw a person come into view from the turn. As they saw me running, they sprinted as fast as they could towards me. As if I wasn't already sprinting, I ran as fast as my legs could carry me. I swear I've never sprinted so fast in my entire life. Looking back on it, I'm honestly amazed at how fast I actually ran. Mocha was keeping up with me, and after about 100 yards of me sprinting, I finally looked back. The fucking guy was still running behind me. He had a dark hoodie on, sweatpants, and appeared to be 6 feet tall. He was still at the same distance that I noticed him, which means that he was running pretty fast as well. The sidewalk was going to end at about 100 yards, and it would lead down to a neighborhood. I figured I could lose him there. I was slowly getting out of breath. My adrenaline was beginning to die down. I kept sprinting, hoping that I wouldn't tire out too quickly. After I finally made the 100 yards, I made it into the neighborhood completely out of breath. The neighborhood was pretty broad, so if I were to keep running, the person would have spotted me right away. At the pace he was running, it didn't seem like a good idea. My best solution was to hide away. I went straight over to a random house and jumped over to their backyard, where I would be kept hidden behind the fence. I basically threw Mocha over, and then myself. We were both panting, but I tried to keep quiet as I heard footsteps echoing by. The guy had finished the trail and was now walking into the neighborhood. He stopped running, and I could hear him panting heavily. I was hearing him mutter as he was completely out of breath. He kept saying, "Fuck. What the fuck?" I was holding Mocha and scratching her so she wouldn't bark or growl. After about 5 minutes later, I heard the footsteps walking off into the distance and slowly fading. I waited about 10 minutes in complete silence to be sure he wasn't close by. I peeked my head around the fence, and I was all alone now. I got Mocha and went to the opposite direction from where I'd heard the man go. Even though I was completely tired out, I tried to jog just so I could get home sooner. I kept looking around me. I was very paranoid that the man would appear somewhere. Thankfully, though, I made it back home with no problem. I gotta thank Mocha for pretty much telling me that someone was behind me and stalking us. I don't know how long he had been following us for, or what he was planning on doing. I just hope he didn't get a clear glimpse of my face, because I don't want to run up to him again. I don't even know if this is okay to post here, but after 2 years I feel like I can finally talk about it. And this is a bit of a wild one, but unfortunately 100% true. In 2018, I ended up in a small town that didn't have very much in it, and was separated from everything with a friend I hadn't seen in about 11 years. I was staying at this friend's parents' house with the friend while I was there, which was fine, of course. Well, until it wasn't. I woke up in the morning, and the friend had already gone to work, leaving me alone with the parent for the day. I sat with them and talked for a while before they offered me some water. I accepted, and they poured it from a jug because city water is so bad for you. I get well water from my sister. All was good, but I found the water a bit odd. I'm from the big city, though, and I was not really exposed to well water before, so I assumed it was just a difference in minerals or something. I should mention that I spend my time watching people and their body language, micro-expressions and the like, in conversation because I find it interesting, and over time I noticed a bit of a shift. The parents started saying things like, "The world is a cruel place for beautiful people like you, but we won't ever be," and talking about how they'll always be there for me, how they'd keep me safe, how they hope I spend a lot of time there, even though I live 8 hours away. I also realized that these statements were always lining up with whenever I was taking sips of the water. I told myself I was being paranoid. The parent kept insisting that I drink the water while talking, because they were being a parent and fretting over my health and stuff, and that's why they wanted me to drink the water from the well, you know? I did get a weird feeling, though, from what I assumed was anxiety about a new place. When the parent was gone, I decided to pour it out. I got a new glass and refilled it with tap water and sat back in my spot. This water was used for everything throughout the day. Coffee, that well water. Cooking, steamed food cooked for me, that same water. The conversation kept bouncing back to those statements while I ate and such, but again, I chalked it off to nerves. Later in the evening, the parents started talking about other things. How the government wanted their secrets because they found a way to cure terminal illnesses, which I honestly don't have an issue with. Sometimes people think things that aren't common. It abruptly switched, though, to how their ex-partner stole their 2 other children by using chemical hypnosis to poison them. Okay, this was getting strange. I contacted my parents and asked if they'd switch my travel ticket ASAP, because my bad feeling was just getting worse. I left my phone unattended while I washed my hair, and finally the friend came home. I felt a bit better afterwards, and sat in the kitchen with them feeling kind of ridiculous for being nervous about well water and some vaguely uncommon ideas, until the parent immediately filled my friend's water bottle with tap water. That was it for me. I said I was tired and locked myself in the bedroom until the morning, when I walked into the kitchen and told them I was leaving 3 hours early because of a family emergency. I was completely paranoid for days. I actually have witnesses to the fact that every time I talked about it, my phone would suddenly ring with a number from the area code. The first time was a coincidence. The next 3 weren't. I also got a text from a number I've never seen that said, "Hey, do you have time to chat?" I asked who it was. They immediately said they had the wrong number, except my name isn't common, and the spelling is even less so. I handed my company the phone. They told me I needed to talk to someone about what was happening because this wasn't normal and was crossing into serious worry territory. I made an appointment and saw my psychologist a few days later. Her exact words were, "Did you get a blood test when you got back? You should have gotten a blood test." She told me immediately that the behavior I was experiencing lined up with someone being drugged. I was to monitor my mental health for worsening paranoia and/or psychosis, and to go to a hospital if anything out of the ordinary happened. It was way too late for any info to come up in a test. I had tech people run diagnostics on my phone, and they discovered that there were 2 programs I had definitely never downloaded. Like actually downloaded into a file that doesn't show up normally. I don't know how to explain it properly. We fully factory reset my device, and I changed my number. This is even more unsettling, because I ran virus scans on my devices unnecessarily often, and nothing ever came up before they did that digging. I haven't heard from the friends since, and I haven't tried to reach out either. I'm healthy and sober, with my mental health under control, but this experience just makes me so nervous to talk about. Actually, this is the first time I've ever openly talked about it on the internet. I'm definitely nervous something might happen, but I've moved twice since then and changed all of my accounts, got a new phone, and I change my codes and passwords every 3 weeks. So this happened to me 2 years ago, when I was 18. I need to set up the scenery of my house so that the location makes sense. I live in an upper middle class neighborhood that resides in the middle of a golf course. The course wraps around and intertwines with the neighborhood. I live in one of the most remote locations of this neighborhood, where we have no access to a main roadway. Furthermore, our house is a 2-story on about 1 acre. On the first floor is a kitchen, bedroom, office, and living room with a couple of bathrooms. The second floor is just a couple of bedrooms, along with the associated bathrooms and a room we use for social gatherings. Along the back of the house, we also have a deck with metal and wicker furniture. Now that the setting is out of the way, it was on a rare Saturday that I had gotten off of work, and I wanted the day to relax and not go anywhere or do anything. My parents knew I really never got days off, let alone a whole weekend, so they were okay with letting me stay home alone when they went out of town for the day. They had decided that day they were going to go out of town to shop at a nearby mall and wouldn't be home until very late. Honestly, I don't remember where my brother was. Anyways, it was a pretty normal day by myself. A lot of nothingness was accomplished until it got dark. I decided to come out of my room and watch TV in the living room, since my new dog wasn't accustomed to stairs yet and would hardly ever walk up them. While I'm sitting on the couch, I noticed my pup growling and the hair on the back of her neck standing up. For clarification, at this point it was around 11 p.m. and I couldn't see outside at all. I tried to calm my dog down, but she was getting extremely hyper. I was getting anxious now too, because obviously something was really upsetting her. I walked upstairs and grabbed my BB gun from my room. I figured if someone was out there, I'd just have to stand inside with it and they might think it was real. Well, after coming down with the BB gun, I take a step over the baby gate we have to keep our pup from peeing on the carpet, when I suddenly hear tapping. Someone or something is tapping on the glass window right next to where I was sitting and had my dog hid between my legs. I lifted the BB gun up, acting as if I was going to shoot, when I saw through the window a figure jump over and off the deck railing. I quickly called my parents. Yeah, I should have called the police, but I wasn't really thinking in the moment. Well, around midnight they got home and turned on the deck lights. We instantly noticed that one of our middle chairs was pulled very far out of place and positioned to look inside the house, exactly where I had been sitting before. We never did call the police about that incident, but when I came home from working about a week later, I pulled into the driveway at around 10 p.m., where my headlights lit up a person standing beside a tree. It was a fully grown adult, wearing a long black coat right in the middle of June. We did eventually call the police about that, but I have an inkling that it was the same man. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. I got a big update for you guys today. It seems like the Teespring store is finally online, so if everything's going well, you should probably be able to see all of the new merchandise on the merchandise shelf below the video. I got some mugs, I got some phone cases, and I got some t-shirts for y'all with the designs on them. All of the shirt designs are under one thing, so if you click on the sweatshirts, it should take you to a page where you can order a different variety of different kinds of shirts. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Let me know what you guys think, if it looks good, the pricing, everything. So look forward to that. As always, if you guys liked the video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a story that you'd like me to read, or you have a story that you'd like to send in yourself, please be sure to check the description of the video below, as it contains all of the links to my social media, including my Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, and Twitch accounts. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the name of the story is, how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in, and what type of story it is, if it does have a type. Also, if you decide to send in a story, please be sure to properly format it into separate paragraphs. Thank you guys very much for that. If you guys are curious about the music used at all in this video, it's all listed in the description below, in the order of which it appears in, with links to all of the artists as well. So if you enjoy their work, please be sure to check it out and support them. Speaking of artists, as always, my friend Alan is doing the thumbnails for the videos now, so I have links to all of his art pages in the description as well. So if you like his art and you appreciate it a lot, please be sure to check out his pages and go support him, because he does some really great stuff. I think that's all for today, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.